On today's show, we're doing some preventative maintenance, remodeling your center console, and doing a conversion on a 1973 Camaro. Stay tuned.
Thanks for joining us this week here on Performance TV, where preventative maintenance applies to a whole race car, and that's what we're doing here this week, where we are changing out the rod ends on the front of this dragster because, hey, you don't want to be doing 170, 180 miles an hour and not be able to steer. And Tommy, what do you got in store for us?
Well, if you've got a car with a 4-link suspension, there's a lot of connection points, and those are connected with rod ends. This Chevelle here, it's made a lot of runs over the years, and maybe the chassis isn't working quite like it did when it was first new, so we're going to pull the bars out, put new rod ends in it, and get that suspension working just like the day it was new. Now, Rod End Supply, they make a lot of rod ends, all different sizes, shapes, but they also make a lot of other chassis components. So let's check in with Kathy and see what all they make.
Well, whether you're working on a drag racing application like we are today or all different types of racing, Rod End Supply, Bob Douglas, we brought you in to show us everything that you guys can cover and help us out with this. And starting right with some economy pieces too.
Yes, we manufacture a economy 2-piece rod end. Then we get up into our signature series, which we call our nylon fiber series, which has an injection molded red material we developed called nylon fiber, which doesn't need lubrication, doesn't beat out like a Teflon liner does.
Sure.
So we make a wide variety of product.
And not just the rod ends, but a lot of other things when we're dealing with chassis.
Absolutely. As the rod ends have to have something that's screwed into, so we also make a aluminum swedge tube and a steel swedge tube, depending on what type of vehicle that you're going to have, in a lot of different sizes for the rod ends. We also make a weld-in bung that you can make your own tubes out of. We also make spherical bearings that are used in suspension cups. We make a wide variety of high misalignment rod ends. We also make clevises. We make parts for shocks of different varieties. Make 4-bar ends for street rods and for some drag cars.
Well, whether you need the right hand or the left hand thread or whatever, I mean, your catalog is just full of all kinds of different sizes and pieces, right down to the little teeny tiny ones you have here, Bob.
Absolutely. We make some of these for Disney as well as for some radio control cars. These go all the way down to a 540 thread with a 440 hole in the ball, which is less than 1/8 of an inch.
Wow. Well, I know that Tommy's going to need probably some pieces a little bit bigger than that. Hey, Tommy, how are you coming on that Chevelle over there?
All right, I got everything loosened up. Now I just got to pull the bar out of here. Now I'm ready for some new rod ends. Bob, can you help me out with some rod ends?
Yep, have the replacements right here.
Boy, this thing is really loose. Look how worn that is.
It's seen a lot of abuse.
It's been on there a while now.
It's been on there for a while.
Yours are a little different than these.
Yes, ours nylon fiber series has an injection molded red material that we developed. Doesn't require any lubrication, doesn't beat out like a Teflon liner.
Yeah, I mean,
so
you can
it should
feel
last a lot longer.
This thing's got like a hard spot in here. It's kind of, you can tell it's worn.
It's had abuse.
Yeah, it's not working properly for sure.
Yep.
Now let's take a measurement of this real quick. So when we put our new rod ends in, we have an idea where to set it so we didn't change the suspension measurements.
16 inches.
16 inches, all right. Stick this in and then get our measurement, put it in and tighten everything up.
Sounds good. Get this bad Chevelle so it'll go straight down the track.
All right, so you hold that and I'll measure it real quick, see if we're pretty close. Make our last minute adjustments here. 16, let's see. All right, let's stick it in there.
All right.
All right, now we'll just go right back up in with the bolts and tighten everything back up, and we're good to go. Good to do. All right, Bob, let's put the front piece in.
Yep.
All right. We'll finish this up, and we'll be back with more Performance TV right after this.
This edition of Performance TV, presented by ARP, is being brought to you by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology. AMS, because we care. Thoroughbred, classic fastback skeletons and early Bronco tubs available from Thoroughbred. Silent Hand, electronic automotive enhancements. And by Nomad Manufacturing, producer of automobile, truck, and aircraft creepers.
Welcome back to Performance TV. Let's face it, some of the new cars these days, well, they lack a little in the interior department. All the plastic and the vinyl. We're going to fix that problem today on this new Camaro with an accessory from Redline Accessories, a new console, new shifter boot, and new shifter knob out of a leather. Gives it a better look and feel. Now to do that, we got to remove the old one, and you don't have to take the seat out, but I thought you'd enjoy a better view of what we're doing. I've removed the side trim. Now we're going to pull this center piece out of here like this. Then we're going to take the shifter boot and knob off. And amazingly, it just pulls right off. It's kind of scary how easy these cars are to take apart. Pull the back piece off. And then got all the screws out. One little piece right here will pop open. Right there. Now we should be able to lift it right out. It's held in by clips, so it comes out pretty smoothly. And there we go. Simple as that. There you go, Kathy. Try that on for size.
Wow, look at the comparison between, I mean, this thing's just lightweight, plastic, but what we're going to be putting in has been completely redone from Redline Accessories. Now, like Tommy mentioned, man, I'm telling you, the interiors nowadays just don't look good. But with all of your choices you have from Redline Accessories, this particular one, it's all done hand with Italian leather. Now, they call it buttery because it does have a really good feel. You can do all kinds of choices when it comes to stitching. You can do the double stitching, you can do quadruple stitching, and even though we're doing this whole console today with the shifter boot and the new shifter knob, there's lots of other choices. We met up with the folks from Redline Accessories at the 2014 SEMA show. They're doing steering wheels, they're doing headrest, you can do your doors, you can do the dash, and so many different color choices. I mean, pretty much the entire color wheel. This particular one that we're gonna stick in this Camaro, it has the racing stripes. You can go with one solid plain color, or you can just pretty much have all kinds of choices. But this one is not only gonna look better, well, hey, it smells better too. It is leather.
That stuff looks good, Kathy. Hand it to me. Let's put it in. All right. Now, it should be pretty easy to install because the other stuff come out real easy. And this is a direct replacement, so it should fit right back in here. And it's really simple to put in because you got to slide it out of the way of the emergency brake. There you go. Get my wires up out of here. And got to go up in that hole. Right there.
Oh, right down in there we go. All right,
Perfect.
now since you took this out, what piece do you want to put in next?
Shifter boot and shifter knob go in next. You slide that over there, and I'm going to put a screw in it here to hold it. Now, we'll put the center trim piece back on right there.
There you go.
Slide it down in there. Hook my wires back up.
Hold that
All right.
for you.
There. It's got to pop right into that slot. There, just like that. Pops right back into place. Okay. All right, now we need to put the back piece on here. That's awful good looking. Yeah, I got a screw.
There you go.
All right.
There you go.
Now let's put the cover on.
You pull that back up.
Pull this back up. You hold that there and I'll get the screws.
Okay. It really does make a big difference in here.
That's right.
Looks more like an SS model than an LS model, you know it?
Look at that. Pop all that back in there.
That's awesome.
Pretty sweet. Nice looking, nice addition to this vehicle. We'll be right back with more Performance TV after this. Look at that. Looks nice.
Yeah.
Performance TV, coming to you from Borla Commerce Park.
Welcome back to Performance TV. Now, we've done a lot of cool segments on this show, but today I love this one. We're going to convert our 73 Camaro from the old school carburetor to the modern day electronic fuel injection. We're going to install the Pro M Racing EFI kit. Now, this kit comes complete with everything to make it a really simple and easy installation. You can do it on your car. It comes complete with everything. I mean everything. Kathy, give the details on what all this kit comes with.
Well, Tommy, you are not kidding. This Pro M Racing EFI kit is absolutely complete, right down to the last nut and bolt that you need. Everything's all married and works perfectly together. And Chris Richards with Pro-Am Racing, you guys have spent a lot of time putting all the right parts and pieces together in this kit.
That's right. We've got everything you need here to convert a car from carburetor over to EFI. Here's our 4-barrel progressive throttle body. This is a mass air meter that we've developed that you can hide away inside of a conventional 4-barrel air cleaner and keep that old school look. This is our 4-barrel EFI intake manifold. It's a single plane, got a very large runner, so it'll support some horsepower. And we've left a lot of meat here on the intake runners so that it can be ported out and be used on some, pretty aggressive heads. And
well, I mean, the wiring harness, I mean, you have the coil, the distributor, everything that we need in the kit, which makes it very nice. When you're buying it, you don't have to figure out, okay, I still got to get this piece. I still gotta get no, it's done, which makes it so nice and simple and, idiot-proof almost, so to speak. And when you mentioned the intake, that's kind of where we want to get started on our install on our Camaro. So from our intake, our fuel rails, and probably go ahead and do our injectors, and this would be a great place to start. What do you think?
Yep, let's get that stuff installed first.
All right, Tommy?
I went ahead and got the Pro-Am Racing intake manifold installed. Comes with everything you need, all the sensors, everything. Got the fuel injectors in and the fuel rails put on them. All I got to do is put the last fitting here in the fuel rail. Then we can go ahead and install the fuel lines and we're ready to hook this thing up. Now this thing not only comes with the fuel injection, it also comes with the ignition. So Kathy, tell us about the ignition.
Yeah, Tommy, you're right. Pro-Am Racing has taken all of the guesswork out with this complete system right down to the ignition, starting with our coil and something really cool about this distributor, Chris, because as I like to think about it in drag racing, I use a crank trigger. You got one right here.
That's right. We make the ignition system pretty simplistic. All you have to do is install the distributor. The distributor has a crankshaft position sensor inside. This is what's going to tell the computer what position the engine is in, so that we can fire the fuel injectors sequentially. This is not a batch-fired or a bank-fired fuel injection system. We're going to fire those injectors in order. It's much more efficient that way.
Oh, absolutely, and not only efficient that way, but we should have great throttle response and just everything else. And Tommy, you got that all installed?
The ignition part of this whole system is really simple. I mean, you have a coil and you have a distributor. It's pretty simple. Mount the coil right up here on the firewall, no problem. Now the distributor, the only thing you have to keep in mind is you want to roll the engine up on top dead center on number 1 because that's what's going to fire our fuel injectors. So when you're dropping in the distributor, have the rotor on number 1, engine up on top dead center number 1, and that'll fire all the fuel injectors perfectly. Pretty simple. One
may take a look at this wiring harness here, Chris, and go, whoa, wait a minute, this thing looks like...
intimidating.
Yeah, and that's putting it mildly. But when it comes down to it, it's actually one of the neatest parts of your system, and the time that you have spent labeling absolutely everything on this wiring harness. It's an actual harness.
Right. It's a complete and assembled harness. A lot of times when you buy an EFI kit, what you're going to get is a bunch of connectors and pigtails and wires and a fuse box, and you've got to assemble that whole harness.
Yeah, that sounds pretty scary.
In this case, it's done. But what we didn't do is cover it. In other words, it's assembled, but it's only held together with a little bit of tape here and there. So if you needed to move a connector from one location to another, remove a little bit of tape, reroute that piece, put some tape back on it. All said and done, when you've got the harness laid out the way you want it, you cover it up with a loom, you wrap it up with the harness tape, and you've got a professional-looking harness. Yeah,
and you have the grommet that goes through the firewall. And we want to emphasize again, when we say complete kit, we mean it. Because like you said, even with the tape and the loom and everything, our zip ties. But I want to get back into the labeling part again. Not only do we see some little, some paper things here that are on certain groups of wires, the wires themselves are all printed and labeled.
Right. Every single wire has printing on it that tells you what that wire does.
We have our fuses. We also have our relays with the system. And coming into, you want to talk about bringing your vehicle up to today's technology. How about being able to check your vehicle with today's technology? Our 73 Camaro over here, you wouldn't be able to just pull up and hook a computer up to it and see what the codes were. We're about to change that. Tell us about it, Chris.
Okay, so this connector is, it's called an OBD2 diagnostic connector. And it's the same connector that you'll find in virtually every production vehicle from 1996 up to today. We're going to use this connector not only to communicate with our module with our laptop, but if you were out on the road and your check engine light came on, and you needed to figure out what was going on, you could stop at any garage. Every garage has got an OBD2 generic scan tool, and they could plug in and read codes and make repairs.
And just something else that is unique about your system with Pro-M Racing.
Right, we're the only ones doing OBD2 diagnostics.
Well, you know, I was thinking that Tommy was going to be a little worried about putting this in, but I think he's been doing a pretty good job, right?
If you're like me, you get a little nervous when it comes to the wiring part of this kit, but the Pro-M system, it's really simple. They took all that worry out. Everything's labeled. It's a plug-and-play system. All we got to do is plug our injectors in. I mean, it's simple like that. You just plug them in, and it's ready to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All the injectors are plugged in. Do the other side. All your sensors, they come too. Everything plugs right in. I mean, there's no worry in the wiring part of this kit. I mean, just as simple as that. The harness is all run back here, nice, neat. We get done, we'll put a loom around it, hide it, look perfect. All we got left is a couple more things, but we'll get to that right after the break, and we'll show you what we got left.
This week's ARP quarter-mile quiz question comes from Bruce in Pennsylvania. Bruce asks, how long does it take to prepare a track for an NHRA event?
Well, Bruce, that really depends on the track we're at. Some tracks are very active and there gets a lot of rubber buildup, and that has to be removed. Other tracks, for Pomona, for example, we run twice a year there, so there's not much rubber buildup, and it can typically take maybe 2 days or as quick as 1 day.
If you have a question for the ARP quarter-mile quiz, send it to the address on the screen. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive a free ARP quarter-mile quiz shirt. This edition of Performance TV, presented by ARP, is being brought to you by RaceQuip, best value in safety, Classic Design Concepts, home of the original light bar since 1990, Deltran Battery Tender, ready for wherever the road takes you, Topper Easy Lift, making life easier, and by Stage 8, the world's best locking fastener.
Welcome back to Performance TV, where we are in the middle of installing our complete Pro-M Racing EFI system. Chris, we're starting to get more closer here to the top. We're getting ready to get done. You guys have put a lot of work into doing everything here. Now, can we do like a progressive linkage on this? It is a progressive linkage,
Yep.
okay.
It's a progressive linkage throttle body, and all these shafts are sealed with sealed roller bearings so that we can use boost and not have leaks. And this is our mass airflow meter that we've designed to be hidden away inside of a conventional 4-barrel old school look air cleaner.
Oh, that way, that's nice. And it gives you lots of different options.
Yep. Well, we can do remote mounted mass airflow meters, more of the retro mod look, or we can go old school with this meter.
And back to what we said again, we've been saying all along, everything comes right along with it, including the gasket, all of the hardware we need to hook up our linkage and everything that we have here. And you know, you had mentioned earlier about the check engine light, and we have that here too.
We do.
So we've got everything we need, and I know that Tommy's getting pretty anxious to start finishing off the top here, and I can't wait till we get into the programming part. You about ready for this?
Well, the last couple steps of finishing up this Pro-M EFI system is to install the throttle body. So we got that on there, we'll finish that up. Now the Pro-M EFI system is controlled by a mass airflow sensor. It's the only one on the market that uses a mass airflow sensor. I mean, it's pretty simple. Why wouldn't you want to know how much fuel to put in by how much air is going in? The only thing you got to be careful of, just make sure you don't touch these wires in here. That's what controls the mass airflow sensor. When you put it on, you got to be careful and slide that right over so you don't hit anything, just like that. Simple as that. Put the nut on, and we're good to go. I got to get the air cleaner on, but while I'm doing that, I'm going to let Kathy and Chris tell you how this mass airflow sensor, all this EFI system works.
Well, Chris, we have our final pieces of the puzzle here for our EFI system, and we're going to start right off with the box. All the stuff has already been installed inside. This isn't just any old processor. This is OEM quality.
It is. It's an OEM level processor that's been made side by side on the production line with the same processors that the OEMs use. It's not a low production, low quality, cheapy processor like the other guys use. This is quality stuff.
Well, as I've seen all throughout your kit, and you give the folks a couple of choices too. We can have a gauge or not have a gauge.
Right. This is the gauge for your wideband O2 sensor. You can have the gauge. If you want to have the gauge up on the dash and look at it, you can. Otherwise, you can have the controller housed in a little plastic housing, and that can go up underneath the dash where you don't have to see it.
I like that. Lots of different choices here. And I know Tommy's got to be getting really close to getting it done, and I wonder how he's coming along.
Yeah, come on over, guys. Just putting the finishing touches on this thing, and it's ready to fire up. I can't wait to hear it run.
Yeah, me either. And Chris, you guys have taken a lot of the complexity out of this in your theory and how this all works.
Right, well, EFI doesn't have to be the voodoo that everybody thinks it is. The other companies make it that way because they really just don't give you the tools that you need to make it easy. Engine management is just air-to-fuel ratio and spark advance. With the mass airflow meter, we know how much air is entering the engine, therefore we can very easily determine how much fuel to add. If you don't have a mass airflow meter, you're really just guessing. That's the difference, really.
Yeah, and we don't have to take this and put it on the dyno to get it all tuned in. Now, if we want to, we can. But that's what's really cool about your system.
It is a fully adjustable, fully programmable EFI system. You can make any adjustment to any parameter you want with your laptop. But the point I'd like to drive home is you don't have to.
Don't have to have a laptop.
You don't have to.
But you know, that's the nice thing. You can be as extreme or as simple as you want to because it's going to take care of everything. And if we want to get extreme and say, put a blower on here, we want to change the can, we want to put nitrous on it, we want to do whatever.
Right.
It's going to be really simple to do that.
Correct, because we're actually measuring the incoming airflow. We really don't care what the combination of engine parts is. We don't care if it's naturally aspirated. We don't care if it's supercharged. We don't care if it's turbocharged. Doesn't matter. We're going to measure the incoming air. We're going to add an appropriate amount of fuel. We're going to calculate a proper spark advance. Done.
Oh, wow. And not just for small block Chevys.
Anything.
Anything.
Anything. Don't care what the engine is.
Like to hear that, too. And how about we like to hear this, Tommy?
I want to hear it run. Let's hear it.
And you know what else? I don't have to get in here because it's not carbureted.
No more pumping the throttle.
Exactly. Here we go. Like the sound of that?
This thing ran great in the shop, but what amazes me is it runs as smooth as a modern-day production car on the highway. Wish I could take you for a longer ride, but that's all the time we got for this week's Performance TV.